Good morning, brothers and sisters. This is Doug White down here in Alabama. I was reading this morning about this King Nebuchadnezzar. Unlikely candidate to be a child of grace, to say the least. But he, one of his enemies, he slaughtered his two sons in front of him, and then poked his eyes out. So that would be the last thing that he saw. Just sadistic is not the word for it. But, brothers and sisters, I believe at one point in his life, the new birth took place. And he was a child of grace. Which, what does that do, brothers and sisters? It magnifies the love of God. It magnifies the love of God. Okay, let me read it here. Let me take a minute here and read it. You remember this Nebuchadnezzar was God humbled him. Every time Daniel would interpret a dream and do something for him and do this miraculous thing, he'd always be proud and take credit for it. But anyway, finally God humbles Nebuchadnezzar, and the new birth takes place, I believe, in his heart at this particular time in history. And anyway, let me get over here to it. Okay, here it is. It's in Daniel. Okay, here you go. Here it is. After he had gone through all this, he was out gazing. He was grazing in the field with the cattle, oxen, and God had humbled him. He'd lost his mind, and God was showing him that he was God. And see, this is where you get the sovereignty of God to this day, brothers and sisters. That, kings are on their throne, but they don't get there unless God has ordained it. Okay, it says, at the same time my reasoning returned unto me, and for the glory of the kingdom mine honor and brightness returned. In other words, God started restoring what he had taken away. Anyway, it says, now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are true, and his ways, judgments, and those that walk in pride, he is able to abase. In other words, God is able to humble him. He was saying, but anyway, he begins to worship the God of heaven and honor the God of heaven, and he got his come up. But I believe right here is where the new birth took place in the life of Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, let me see here. He said something that was really beautiful, I thought. At the end of the day, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and mine understanding returned unto me, and I blessed the Most High. He blessed the Most High, say. And I praised and honored him that liveth forever, and whose dominion is an everlasting dominion. Wow. No unregenerate man could say those words, brothers. And his kingdom is from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth is reputed as nothing. And he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. And none can stay his hand and say unto him, what doest thou? Brothers and sisters, no unregenerate man could say that. Yet here we have an example in the Old Testament of the new birth that took place in the heart of Nebuchadnezzar. Because here he is praising God, the God of heaven, the true God of heaven. and he got down off his throne. God restored it to him in the end there, because that was in his divine plan. But anyway, just wanted to put that out there this morning to anybody that's listening who thinks they are a lost cause, or they believe that they've got people that they think are lost causes. But who knows, brothers and sisters? The new birth could take place at any time. Because why? Because the wind goeth where it listeth, wherever God wants it to go, and he can bring that person into his family. But anyway, here we have Nebuchadnezzar praising the Most High God. And also he had a revelation, the same revelation that Job had, that God can do anything. He's in control. The old devil is not in control, brothers and sisters. Anyway, I just want to get on here while I was getting my coffee in. I was just thinking about that, Nebuchadnezzar. What an example. And then you have other ones, Manasseh. You have other wicked kings in the Old Testament, wicked men that became children of grace at God's appointed time. Anyway, just want to say that this morning. Peace and love, brothers and sisters. As I'm getting my coffee here, down here in Alabama, put in the comments what you think about my little channel here. Good or bad. Peace and love, Miss O'More, down here in Alabama.